All right. I think we're cooking here. It is, what day is today? Tuesday, January 15th. And it's 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. And that makes it Training Tuesday. An interesting question came up in our community this week that reminded me that not everyone knows how to use campaigns to run their newsletters. We used to, back in the day, newer clients may not know this, but let me just show you something. I wonder if I even have it. I wonder if I even have it in here. Let's see. I don't even have it on. We have a legacy feature called sequences. You turn them on and you'll end up having a new thing here. This is the way we used to run Ontraport before there was Campaign Builder. And there was two different kinds of sequences. There's a step sequence, which is like, kind of an autoresponder, right? So step by step by step, day 0, day 1, day 2, day 3, like that. And then we had this other thing called the date sequence, and these were look the same, and you would add a step like this, and it would say, when do you want this thing to go? Well, I want it to go on the 15th, or say, I'm setting up my newsletter. I want it to go on the 16th, and then I want the next one to go on the 23rd or whatever. And then you would select your message, and then you subscribe people to this sequence. This would be like your newsletter sequence. And you subscribe people to the sequence, and they would only, they wouldn't get the old newsletters. They would, when 123 came around, everybody that was subscribed to the sequence would get this email. And so that was cool. There's a lot of disadvantages to sequences, which is why we built the campaign builder. By the way, did you guys notice that we put a search bar up here? Look at this. You don't have to look for stuff anymore. You can just type in SEQ for sequences and find all the admin menu items that include sequences. So I'm just going to turn this off right now, and boom, away they go. All those other ones showed up because they turn on when sequences are on. But yeah, if you can type in anything in here and find the stuff that relates to whatever you're looking for. Pretty slick new feature. But at any rate, I've turned the sequences back off. We have campaigns now, and that's what you'll want to use. The trouble is that when people think about campaigns, there's this thing that says what happens next, and that makes it real simple. You subscribe people to a campaign, and what happens next? Well, say you want to send them an email. Well, first you got to wait here, right? And you'll wait some period of time, wait until a specific date arrives, and you'll notice that here's the dates, and you can wait until the time of day if you want to, say 10 a.m. You want to send that sucker, and then send an email. Then you want to set up your next newsletter, and a lot of people are going to want to do something like this. They're going to want to say, well, wait until a specific date arrives, and it's not the 16th, it's the 23rd this time, and then wait until 10 a.m., and then you put your next email down here, and you'll notice that if somebody subscribes after the 16th, like say they get added to this campaign on the 17th, well, waiting until 1/16/2019, well, that's never going to come because it's already in the past, and so people are going to get stuck here, and then which is relatively obvious, but then the question comes up, well, shoot, how do I even run my newsletter campaign if I, can't put them on a line like this? And the answer is, instead of going vertically, you go horizontally with this stuff. So one of the things that's unique about Ontraport's campaign builder is the ability to have multiple unconnected triggers and flows that attach to those triggers. So the way you do this, I'm gonna show you. You're gonna take this. I also going to just show you, by the way, you guys, this thing here is pretty slick. You can grab any step and drop it here. You can't drop that there because weights can't be triggers, but you can drop it. You can move it anywhere there's a plus, basically. That's not a trigger. And when you drop it, it asks you what you want to do. Move only this item, or move this item and everything below it, or copy this item, or copy this item and everything below. So in this case, I'm going to copy just this item over. So say I want to wait until, let's see, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to say wait until some time passes, 0 minutes. So here's how this is going to get set up instead. I'm going to say the trigger is, search for date, and today is a specific date, and I'm going to put the date here. So what's going to happen, I'm going to just delete all this stuff, delete this and everything below it so we're not confused. So here's what's going to happen. Today is a specific date. That date, we can even add the date here if we want to, 1/16/19. Today is a specific date. And when today is the specific date, everybody that's on this map is going to get moved here. And then you just wait until you want to send the thing, 10 a.m. in my time zone, or maybe you want to do it in the context time zone. And then you'll send your email, your newsletter, and then you'll just end this sucker. And that is going to be how you set this up. And then when it comes time to do the next step in your sequence, instead of going down, the next newsletter rather, you're going to grab this thing, hover over the add a trigger, and then copy this item and all following items. And then you can just come in here and just change the date. So next week, it'll be the 23rd. We'll change the email to a different the different email, the next week's email, and boom, we're done. Now, a couple things to notice about this. This is a very powerful way of managing this, and so you'll keep going here, right? You'll keep going. You can drop another one on here, copy this item and all the following items. Change the date again, the 30th. Just change this here, the 30th. Done. And so we'll see that that's what's going to happen. Now notice when you click on this sucker, who can activate this trigger? And in this case, there's only one option. It's any contact on this map. So that means, and the reason we did this is that the other option that's normally there is anyone in my account. And you can imagine if we set it to anyone in your account and then the day becomes, January 30th, then everybody in your account is going to get added to this spot. And while that may be what you wanted, we figured that it was more likely that it wouldn't be what you want and you'd be really upset if you made that mistake. And so we just removed that option. So what that means is that only people that are already somewhere on this map are going to get triggered by this thing. And so what that means is you're going to need to get them on the map somehow before they're going to get these steps. I want to change this to the 23rd so it's clear. So we got the 16th, the 23rd. I'm sending this every Wednesday or whatever. So we got to get them on the map somehow. There's two ways, of course, to get them on the map. One is to just add this. We call this the newsletter campaign. Of course, this same model of kind of going horizontally instead of vertically would be used for a product launch, that's date specific, where you may want people not to get the emails that are from the past, but only the emails that are building up to your launch on the day that they subscribe. So remember that it's not just newsletters; it's any date specific. This is how we recreate the date sequence functionality in campaigns. So let's see, we got to get them on the map somehow. There's two ways to do that. Of course, you can add them directly to the campaign from the form, which I can show you how to do. App.ontraport.com, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. The other thing would be to just add a new trigger that says, and this is probably the way I would do it because I like to have all my automation on the map. I don't like my automation spread throughout my account. So I think this is a better way to do it. So we'd say form, let's contact submits form, and then the form that they fill out will show up here, whatever it might be. And boom, anybody that fills out that form will be added to the map. I can pop this over to the beginning. I like to stay organized. Stuff that happens first. I'm going to put an end here. And you might have even an email that goes out immediately, right? Like, so a little welcome email. Hey, you signed up. Thanks for joining the list. The newsletter comes out on Wednesday. Here's some resources in the meantime. Boom, end, right? That email will go out immediately as soon as they fill out that form. As I said, if you want to, you can, create a form on your page. You'll see that when you click the order or the submit button, there is form settings here, and you can just add them directly this way as well. So newsletter campaign, you can add them up here, and then if you do it that way, they're going to be added to this spot. See, it says here, contact starts here if added manually, by a form, rules, or by other campaigns. So this is, if you add them from elsewhere, this is where they're going to start. So if that's the model, then you would plop this email there. But if you want to keep your automation here and kind of like pull people into this automation, then you would set this up. And then what you'll see is that people that get signed up will end up here. And then on these dates, when these dates are hit, they will get moved over. You can see here, if the contact is already on the map, then move them here when this is triggered, or you can add them here again. In this case, it really doesn't matter which way you do. A contact can be on this map in multiple places. So if you do choose to add them here again, when triggered, then they're going to still sit here at this end spot, and then they will also be added here again, and then they'll be added here again, and then added here again, if that's how you set it up. There's reasons why you would want to use one of these settings or another in different cases, but in this particular case, it doesn't matter. Either way you set this up, it'll work. And so they'll be moved here. It'll wait until 10 a.m. in the contact's time zone. The email will go out, and then the contact will sit here and wait for the next trigger to happen. So this is just kind of how they'll travel along in this campaign. The last thing that you should know is that on 1/16/19, today is that date all day long. So if they sign up for this campaign on 1/16/19, they're going to get added here to one of these triggers, depending on how you set it up. They're going to come down to this end, and then immediately this 1/16/19 will get triggered. Note that, so they'll end up right here at this wait. Note that if you do this 10 a.m. thing and that time has already passed, they're going to be stuck here. So so that is, that may be fine with you. It may not be. If you want to make sure that they, get today's email, even if it's after the send time, of course you can do that. And I'll show you how to do it. It adds a little complication to this thing. You may want to just let that go. But for the fun of it, I'll show you how I would get that done. But before I do that, I just want to say that this is how you would manage a process where you're sending stuff out on specific dates. Now, there's also waits here. Let's see. Sorry, there's triggers here. If I type in date, you'll notice that there's lots of different date type fields that can be used as triggers. So today's specific date, or today matches a date in their contact record. So for example, their birthday, you can use that. So if you chose that as a trigger, it would ask you, well, which date field are we talking about? And you'd say, well, when it matches their birthday, they'll then move them here. Okay, that's cool. You can also say a date that's relative to their to a field. So when today is say 2 days, you can kind of build a little sentence here. 2 days before, maybe their next follow-up date, or 2 days before their birthday, or whatever it is you want here. This will trigger on that day and then move those contacts down when it's appropriate. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I'll just throw one last little complication on here. If you do want to make sure that, if somebody signs up on 1/16, that they do get today's email, even if it's after 10 p.m., because they're going to get stuck here, right? They're going to move here, move down, and then they're going to get stuck. If it's 11 a.m. in the contact's time zone, they're not going to ever get this email. So if you want to make sure that they do in that case, then you need to add a condition here. And so the condition I would say is date was subscribed to this campaign. I haven't saved this yet, so it's not going to show up here. But if I saved this and then came back, it would show up here. So I'm just going to throw another campaign on here. Well, you know what? Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to just do this right, so you really see what I'm talking about here. Just going to refresh this page real quick. I saved it. Refresh it so I can repopulate those drop downs. Make sure that sucker shows up. Hope I didn't screw something up here. What have I done? Did I screw something up? Contacts, campaigns. There we go, newsletter campaign. Okay. So if I go in here and I type in newsletter campaign, or maybe you can't even do it today. All right, here's what I would do then. I would say you can't use the same campaign. That's interesting. So I would say date. Today is before, or no, I'd use field. Field is this value. So, date added is equal to whatever. So, for example, if you believe that this is the date they're going to be added to your account, you can use date added is equal to today. So if date added is equal to today is yes, then I want to skip this wait, right? I want to just send this immediately. So what I would do is I'd actually date added is equal to today, then yes, we're going to skip this wait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy this and everything below it, and then on this side, I'm going to delete this sucker, delete only this item. Okay, so what we're going to see here is if they're added to my account today, then just skip that wait. Just send this thing to them immediately. Or if we want to wait a little while, we can add a wait that's an hour instead of waiting till 10 a.m. so they won't get stuck. If date added wasn't today, then we don't need to worry about this, right? Then we can just wait until 10 a.m. They've already, because they'll already have been on this campaign, we can send the email that way. Now, if you are not sure that they're added to this campaign on the day that they're added to your list, which may very well be the case, you'll need to use a different field here. So you can't use date added. You'll need to create probably a custom field that's something like, added to newsletter campaign date. And if that is equal to today, then you'd run this thing. And then after that, it's basically all the same. So what you would do is you just, again, when you're going to set up a new campaign, you just pull the sucker over, copy the whole thing, and then set up the email twice. Or you can even do to make this simpler. In fact, I would do this is delete this item and everything below it, delete, and then I would add a go-to here. You can search for these guys too. Wait, go-to. There we go. And then just pop this over to the email. So we can skip that wait. That way, when I copy this for my next newsletter, I don't have to do anything. All I do is set the go-to like that, set the email there, and the new date, and that'll be what that looks like. So there you go. A lot of interesting information about date. What used to be called date sequences, but now we're talking about campaigns that run on specific dates. We're just going to run this stuff out horizontally, and you can go to town on this. You can really, have these be as long as you want. So that is how we manage this in campaigns. The cool thing about this, of course, is you get all sorts of great reporting on what happens here. For example, if you have let's go back if you're all leading up to a purchase for this stuff, I would probably add myself a goal here or a trigger, either way. Purchases product. You know what? Yeah, this is fine. Purchases any product or a specific product. And I would just, throw that on there. If you want them to keep getting the emails afterwards, you got to make sure any contact, see only contacts on this map, and then add here again when triggered is how I would set this up. And the reason I would do that is because I get all sorts of really cool reporting, right? So I'd be able to say, for example, goal conversion. You have to make this a goal and not a trigger. Please add a goal and try again. All right, so we're gonna have to add this as a trigger, as a goal, not a trigger. So I'm just gonna add a goal here. Excuse me. Add a goal here and have that be the purchase of a product. Done. And again, got to set this up, any contact on the map, add here again when achieved, done. Now, when we come in here and we click on this sucker, and I can see the goal conversion rate, I can see how many people are actually converting to that goal. I can see goal conversion point. That'll show me where people were on this map, which one of these newsletters did they get right before they purchased. That's super interesting, right? Lifetime value of the people as they move through this map. Funnel conversion, lots of valuable reporting that you get that you could never have gotten from sequences. So that's why this is the way to do it. Old school folks, you can still use date sequences. They still work like a charm, but the reporting here is super valuable. So that's what I got to say about running your newsletter in the Campaign Builder. Thanks for watching. Let's continue the conversation in the community. Cheers all.